Here's a look at some of the most cursed inside-out images the internet has to offer. When Dante traversed the 9 circles of hell, I bet cursed paper plates were the last thing he was expecting to find. It seems that creating inside-out plate masks was a part of everyone's collective unconscious shortly after the movie's premiere in 2015. Either that, or all these blog moms just stole the idea from one another. And while some of these plate masks do a relatively good job at capturing each character's likeness, other ones, well, look more like sunburnt Muppets. And for some reason, everyone seems to struggle at making Joy, as she is consistently the most cursed in every bunch. With the exception of these, where every plate's equal cursedness fills me with the 6th emotion not pictured here. In their blogs, the parents say the concept behind this craft is for kids to create different emotions and hold them up as masks so they can express the way they're feeling. But if little Timmy's pissed off, I guarantee the first thing he's grabbing from that kitchen is a fistful of knives, not a flimsy red plate with googly eyes. I mean, if the trees that were cut down learned what their bodies were used for, they probably would have had a roundup orgy before the lumberjacks could reach them. And now, we go from paper meant for eating off of to paper that can stand. I have to say, as cursed as it is seeing your favorite characters as discarded rolls of toilet paper, I am mildly impressed with the effort put into the expressiveness of their expressions. I mean, look at this. We get 2 rejected Dragon Ball characters, the love child of SpongeBob and the color purple, and, remember when I said I was mildly impressed like 10 seconds ago? Yeah, that doesn't apply to these 2. I'd be totally sad, and disgusted too, if my face looked like a steaming pile of garbage. And just like with the plates, it would appear that more than one blog mom had the idea of doodling inside-out characters on poo-poo paper. These little guys, while being more than just a Sharpie face, do consequently look like something you'd see in an Adult Swim parody or a Nickelodeon bumper from the 90s. Their unconventional execution certainly makes them unique, but at the same time, incredibly cursed to look at. I'd never take a shit again if it meant less TP rolls were in circulation that would end up creating these cursed monstrosities. And now, we transition from the remnants of something you wipe your ass with to something you can take a piss in if you find yourself miles away from civilization. These are apparently sensory bottles, and they seem to already be a sort of established fidget toy amongst children. So, while these are only loosely based off Inside Out, I'm still grouping them in with cursed imagery since the blog moms were inspired by it, which, given the context, makes them extremely cursed for the fact that they hardly represent the characters, like, at all. The face stickers are literally the most generic ones $1 could get you from Temu. As for these sensory bottles, the Pinterest link is filled with a bunch of dead images, so this blurry photo is the only remnant we have, which is a darn shame, because they are even more low effort than the previous ones. Just look at anger. Yeah, I'd be angry too if I was a cheap Poland Spring bottle filled with bloody piss. And now, we transition from big colorful bottles to big colorful balls. And let me just say, no amount of big colorful balls would be able to alleviate the amount of stress I feel from looking at these cursed balls. I mean, the faces on these things are just... I will say, the concept is pretty cool and original, as Mum in the Madhouse appears to be the only mom blog I could find that made stress balls. But as cool as they may be, I personally would never make them out of fear of flour getting everywhere. I suppose there's no graceful way to transition from Sharpie-faced balloons to even lower effort Sharpie-faced rocks. Don't get me wrong, I love painting on rocks, and I suppose the low effort factor is only as cursed as the artist's skill painting them, but at least the other things we've seen, the masks, the piss bottles, and even the squishy balls, have some sort of emotional meaning behind them. But rocks, especially the way these look, is like little Timmy saying, "Mom, I want to draw inside-out characters, but we ran out of paper." With Timmy's mom replying, "Okay son, let me just open the door and step outside for a second." At least, Amy Lata's magnet idea is like the rocks, but you can actually stick them to different surfaces. Well, maybe all of them except anger. If you were to put him in the I feel frame, people may think you're about to drop a deuce the size of Delaware. Speaking of rocks, and nature, don't get me wrong, nature can be great. It gives us turkeys, which inspire little kids to make handprint turkeys on Thanksgiving. But something that should never be made as a handprint is a human head. And after seeing this incredibly cursed painting project, I think it's pretty clear why. The one thing that would have been the cherry on top of the cursed sundae was if all the painted details were handled by the daughter instead of the blog mom. But I'm not sure if my eyes would have been prepared for that. So, going back to tangible projects we probably wouldn't want to actually touch, we're coming down to the most cursed inside-out projects, starting with these perler bead faces. which, if they were any bigger, tie a little string through, and they'd certainly double as Halloween slasher masks. But I get it. When you're trying to make something really complex on such a small scale, it's not really going to translate that properly. But I can't help but be terrified that my brain has now been made aware of these images and is fully capable of reproducing them in my nightmares on any given day. The blog mom even included templates, which, assuming they planned this stuff out before actually making it, they definitely could have played around with choice eye placement a little more, which I think is the #1 cursed factor of the entire project. Because with that said, I think we just found a new emotion for Inside Out 3, murderous intent. You probably didn't think another craft could possibly be more cursed than the perler bead faces, but you've yet to see this mix and match felt activity. There's not much of a backstory behind this project, except that it was apparently made for an Inside Out party, so it would seem Pin the Tail on the Donkey was replaced by this hilariously cursed version of Build-A-Bear. I mean, look at these things. It's a shame we only get 3 photos of what could have been an endless possibility of cursed emotions, because this is by far my favorite of all the cursed projects. Speaking of parties, no party is complete without some costumes, except if your guests arrive in these costumes. In fact, if my phone was broken, I would personally walk 100 miles to the nearest police station to have them shut down any party that had people dressed in these cursed abominations. I, on the other hand, would probably just keep it simple by sporting this frightening fear-shaped fedora while I gaze through these disgusting mouth-shaped lenses and completely obliterate this cursed piñata, as its existence fills me with anything but joy. Although, if you ever have the displeasure of seeing one of these suspended from your ceiling at your birthday party, it may be filled with some deliciously colorful inside-out pops. But we're not talking about these. We're talking about these. And these. Even these. And boy, do they just keep getting more and more cursed. So cursed, your stomach will probably accuse you of intentional food poisoning. However, if you're in the market for a more permanent pop that doesn't involve face licking, you can check out this nifty little video where a couple of nifty little kids teach you how to make pure nightmare fuel on a stick. I mean, no offense, but when you compare them to everything we've seen so far, these make the other crafts look like Renaissance art. But paper plates, paper rolls, paper mache, and paper puppets aren't the only cursed paper products, as paper bags have even been used to make inside-out crafts, as this blog mom shows us how to make inside-out inspired DIY popcorn boxes, even though they're bags. So you could use paper bags to make the entire cast of characters who look like they're in great pain to be alive, or you can use your paper bag to create the greatest and possibly the most cursed inside-out project of all time. They say God works in mysterious ways, and just as Julie, blog mom of Director Jewel, relies on Jesus, well then, perhaps it was he who brought us together to this blessed image. And by blessed, of course, I mean completely cursed. Paper Bag Puppet Joy is without a doubt cursed with a capital skull and crossbones. I mean, this puts all the other crafts to shame. It's like the toilet paper roll project, but on steroids. If we went into Toy Story, Puppet Joy would be my Forky. If we were in the Monsters universe, Puppet Joy would be the monster hiding in my closet. This atrocity crashes over me like a tidal wave of emotions. I love everything about it, yet at the same time, hate it with an intensity as fiery as 1,000 flaming angers. It's the kind of image that makes you stop in your tracks mid-scroll and just wonder, why? So, while it's seemingly impossible to give the award of most cursed inside-out image to just one of our countless and well-deserving contenders, Puppet Joy's black bottomless stare not only has the potential to steal your soul, but a first-place spot on our list as well. It may be uncertain if Riley and all her energetic emotions will appear in another film installment in the future, but one thing does remain certain. Inside Out will always provide us with a treasure trove of cursed imagery thanks to our crafty blog moms and their kids.